All right. So we're here with Jared from Auto Design Desk, and since I'm a cinematographer and don't know a lot about audio, I'm just going to let him run the demo that he's been doing here for efficiency. So go ahead.
All right, thank you. So Audio Design Desk, just as a boilerplate thing, is a DAW that we built from the ground up using the modern advancements of AI to help us quickly and efficiently place audio to video. Right off the bat here, what we'll notice is this is actually Premiere. We're not in Audio Design Desk yet, and we have a scene from the film Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's a quick little fight scene. We have a couple sounds and some dialogue, and we have just connected Audio Design Desk up here. So now in Audio Design Desk, I can control Premiere's timeline and play the timeline. Now that we are connected, I want to import all of my audio from Premiere, so I just select timeline sequence, and it pops up on my timeline. We can play this.
Stand down.
And first, one thing I noticed is that our dialogue is a little dirty. We have
Stand down, sir.
a lawnmower going on in the background of this dialogue take, so we're going to use Isolator. If I had internet right now, I would select Isolator, and then I would drag it and drop it in, and I would select Noise Reduction, and it would give us this stack file here, which then, if we unstacked it, we could hear just our individual lawnmower sounds, and then we could delete that. And if we soloed our dialogue,
stand down, sir.
It's significantly cleaner dialogue right out of the gate here with just a couple button clicks, and then we can just adjust its gain a little bit and get rid of that empty track. So now that we have that, we want to start adding sounds. We already have those whoosh sounds, but I want to add a rise to that whoosh. So I can go to our sound design triggers and I can select rise. I want to add another transition when he starts to run at them over here. I can select T, and that's a transition. I want to add a hit when we swing this bag, so I click hits, and I now have that. If I don't like any of these sounds, I can select them. I can press Command R, and I now have an entirely new composition of sounds in that same exact place as the original sounds. Or I can get specific. I could tell Audio Design Desk that I'm working on an action scene that's very intense. Now that I've selected that, when I replace these, I specifically get intense action sounds, and we can press Command R over and over and over until we find the sounds that we like. The next thing we wanted to do is Foley. Foley takes forever in any system that you're working in, so we had to come up with a whole new system. We created custom triggers. With the custom triggers up here, I selected the 4 trigger and I dragged a stem of body punches onto it. Audio Design Desk automatically chopped that up into individual elements for me. I can then go to my timeline, press the 4 key, and I get one of those body punches placed right there at the point of the playhead. So we can go back to the beginning, I can scrub through, press the 3 key for all my whooshes every time he's whipping this bag back and forth. And that's already a significantly faster way of adding Foley than anything we've been doing in the past. But we like to have some fun with it, and we like to perform and create all this in real time just by pressing the number keys. Awesome, and just like that, we were able to add all of this Foley right down here for you in real time. Now, it might not be 100%. One thing I'm noticing is the swooshes are a little loud. So we have a content-aware timeline that understands the difference between the sounds, which means I can simply go to my select drop-down, select swoosh. All my swooshes are selected. I press shift down 3 times. They're all down 6 decibels across my entire project. I can then do the same for the body punches here. And if I have a massive project and I need to get a balance across hundreds of sounds at once, what we have now is an auto mix feature. So you can set your target left standard here. Audio Design Desk will go through every single region and give you a balance based on that standard. And to tie all this together, we want to add some music. We'll mute everything here. We could just press Z key, and I now have a full mix music stem that I can then replace over and over, auditioning several music cues in real time. Or we could create our own score. So I'm going to open my trigger pad here. I'm going to go to music. I want this to be a little percussion heavy, so I'm going to select beat. I'm going to select percussion. We can play this. Maybe not these, so we can just press Command R. I like these driving cinematic drums. Maybe we'll add another rhythmic element on top as well as a bass line here. And I'm noticing that these are recorded at different tempos. So we have this tempo stretch button. When I turn it on, Audio Design Desk will stretch any region that has BPM metadata on it to match my global BPM of 120. So now our score sounds cohesive, driving, and perfect for this scene. We can then unmute everything here. We can go back to the beginning and see what we've created in this short amount of time.
Stand down, sir.
Awesome. So now that all the sound for this scene is done, we can set our out point. We can export this right back into Premiere if we wanted to continue editing. We also work with DaVinci as well as Final Cut. Or we could send this back to Pro Tools or Logic or whatever DAW you're using to do a final mix and master. And in a nutshell, that's Audio Design Desk. I'm sure you have tons of questions now that you've seen this.
Not really. It's kind of self-explanatory. Can it? Because I see you have the keyboard, like the musical keyboard.
Yes.
Does that mean you can run MIDI to control all this, or like
Yes.
other panels other than the keyboard?
You can use a MIDI keyboard as your trigger system. So
Yeah.
if you have a MIDI keyboard,
Or like an MPC?
Yeah. So,
Anything that has a MIDI button?
Yeah, anything. Yeah. So if you have a drum machine, it would read that as a MIDI keyboard. Then you could assign sounds to that MIDI controller essentially.
Yeah, and did you say that you were pulling these libraries? You guys made these libraries, or can you
Yes,
put your own stuff in there?
made entirely in-house. I think it's roughly like 60,000 plus sounds.
Oh, wow.
We add new sounds every single week, so I've lost count at this point. Yeah, it's all in-house, and if you have your own library, you can always use our importer here to drag in your own library. Our AI system will guess as much metadata as it can for those sounds. Some of it's a little subjective, so you're going to have to write in some of your own. But you see that this stem of footsteps that I dragged in for this demo, it actually recognized every individual footstep down here and is already prepared to chop it up into those individual elements that I can then import to the library and start using alongside with my other sounds.
So as I edit a lot, I know I said I'm a DP, but I do plenty of editing. I think everyone does. Audio's always been the thing that I'm like, I good enough, but it does take a lot of time. That is an insane time saving.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't do a lot of narrative, but for people who do, that's crazy.
It's funny because I know, like we like to say, 10 times faster than any other system, but it's probably a lot faster. You guys just wouldn't believe us if we were saying 50 times faster. So.
Well, and like one thing I'll do is if like I'm editing a music video or something, I'll like close my eyes and hit the marker button.
Yeah.
You know, and then I'll set edit points on those markers. The fact that you can do Foley as it goes is huge.
Yeah, and if you have markers like that, actually I think I have some on this video up here. It's a good transition here. We can actually import those markers. Yep, it popped up right here. So that marker that you had in that video, as you were editing, can now pop up in our timeline, so you can just kind of remind yourself of sounds.
Sure.
As well as there is an ability to set an auto placement on those markers. So if you specifically wrote a type of sound, it'll go grab that sound and place it there at that point.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, what's the video version of Premiere is like import to marker or something like that. But that's super cool. You guys designed your like AI system in-house then, or are you using like external support?
So
how did that dev team come around?
We did use a lot of references, but for the most part, it is entirely in-house. That took years. We've been building this out for about 6 years now. 7 actually, maybe at this point.
Good Lord, what was the impetus for it? Because I imagine it was you fill a need, but I'm a sound designer myself. A lot of us are actually film editors and sound designers in-house that work on this, and we just all happened to meet. We were all just talking about how slow certain processes are, especially like Foley and stuff, and we're like. We're looking around and we're like, video, cameras, software, everything, every single year it seems like they're updating. We're like, TDs are 8K now, but we're still using the same process we've been using for 25, 30 years. Yeah.
So we're like, there has to be like something new. We were looking all over the internet, couldn't find anyone that was really doing what we were looking for. So that's when we were like, let's just build something from the ground up to help us just get the tedium out of the way of this whole sound design process and make it fun again. And a lot of sound design.
That's a good point. It is kind of fun to just.
Yeah, sound design has generally been a lot of engineers recently. Like that's the mindset you have to have going into it, because you're like just slowly chipping away sound by sound. But creating a system like this, we can really bring the creativity back into it and make it a fun process and just really kind of democratize it for everybody. So anyone can jump into the sound design world.
Totally. And so. Correct me if I'm wrong, all these layers get imported into Premiere as individual layers.
Yeah.
So you could do your mixing and mastering in Premiere, Audition, whatever other system you're using.
Yeah, here we could show that real quick. There's a few things we're trying to cut out as far as like extra button clicks here.
Sure.
You'll see that.
Always appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely. Every button click we can save you is a win for us. So if we say we export the timeline, it just takes a second to render everything here. We go into Premiere. At the moment, we just have to open up that new project
Awesome.
timeline, and then you can just simply copy and paste. But we're getting rid of the whole copy and paste, so it will just pop up right here.
Sure. Because yeah, I use the audio track mixer a lot in
Yeah.
Premiere, so it's nice because that was my next thing. It's like, do I have to do all the EQing and add?
You
No.
can't.
But you can.
You can. It's up to you. So every single individual region has their own mix window. It's one of the
Awesome.
other
With
things-
VSTs?
Yep. Yeah.
That's
everything.
amazing.
Yeah, look how many I've got. So I'm loaded.
Incredible.
On this computer. So any sort of plugin you want to add to every individual region, you can do that. We also have track regions. You can do it the old way.
Right.
We found that. When it comes to adding sound to video, each region kind of needs its own EQ at times,
Yeah.
or its own sort of sounds.
The other thing that's nice is like obviously as a sound designer, you design this for other sound designers, but as a dum-dum, this feels very approachable.
Yes, that's the whole thing that I work to make sure it happens. Is we need this to be as intuitive as possible because the barrier to entry on sound design is the reason that there's so few of us
Right.
out there.
Sure.
It's just because the first time you open Pro Tools, it's it's scary. If you don't already know kind of what you're doing, or if you're not working with like a teacher or someone, it's very hard to learn. So that's another thing that we really wanted to kind of clean up is have all those same tools, but just kind of rethink where they're placed and essentially how they work and what they look like, so that anyone who's worked with any software, just as long as they know what they're trying to do, they can find that tool and use it right away.
Absolutely. It's so. And is this a rental license? Is it a one-time purchase? And like,
So
what's
it's
the
both.
price point?
You can go subscription or you can go perpetual. So for the top tier perpetual, $600. For the subscription top tier, it's $30. Depending on what you and that's like for if you're actually doing like a major motion picture, you'd
Right.
want that. If you're like more of like a streamer, YouTuber, like doing corporate things, you can go with like a personal license, which is just 50% less across the board.
Awesome. That seems. With the amount of work you put in, that seems very reasonable.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, we're still new, so that we're keeping it at reasonable prices for the moment. Just to get the word out there. So hopefully people jump on soon before.
Yeah. Well, hopefully this helps. But one thing that is nice about having both options, like if I was a sound designer, I would buy it. But if I was working on one project for 2 months, I would just rent it for that amount of time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We know that's going to happen. So
Totally.
that's what's nice about it. There is also a whole other element to Audio Design Desk now. We just released Maker AI, which is kind of like a parent website for Audio Design Desk. Essentially with Maker AI, that isolator tool that I showed you there, you'll be able to use that standalone. So even if you don't have Audio Design Desk, you could just use that there. There's going to be our whole library and marketplace is going to exist there as well. And users will be able to upload any of their own sounds, Foley, music to sell to other video editors through that, as well as just a couple other really neat AI separate tools that you can just jump right into.
Awesome. Well, we'll have to keep an eye out for that. Thanks
Absolutely.
for sharing it with
All
me,
right,
man.
thank you.